Brian, how's it going? Not too bad, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, Brian.
All right, how are things?
Not bad. What's the latest?
I was going to ask you, what is the latest?
In here, well, it seems to be the same old.
Same old, same
Same
old.
old
Some things
story,
never
yeah.
change, do
That's
they?
for sure.
How are you anyway? You all right?
Not bad, thanks.
Yeah. It's interesting you're reading that because your story is an interesting story. He said, looking at the newspaper and looking at you at the same time. Because, I mean, when you think about it, you know all about here and all about your native country, which is
Canada.
Canada, exactly. So I find it interesting, the fact that you are here in the first place and not there. Why are you here? What brought you to a place like this? I mean, when did you first come here?
Well, first of all, I went to Belfast in 1968.
All right.
Recently married, and so my wife was from Belfast. We ended up over there, and our timing couldn't have been the best because that's when the trouble started.
But why did you go? What was the whole thinking? Like, why leave? Where your hometown is a small town.
Yeah, we're west coast of Canada,
Right,
Vancouver Island.
It's a small town.
That's right.
Right, so you go to this, you're from this little small, is it a logging town? Is it a...
Logging and lumber.
Why did you leave it in the first place?
Well, just I think I had a desire to travel.
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up, I went to Australia, went to England. And,
Wow.
Yeah, and had some experiences on the way.
So was it just for travel? And then
Just for travel,
then you got stuck. You got stuck in the one spot.
Ended up in England, yeah. I was in England for 4 years, and then back to Canada, and in Canada for 2 years, and then back into Belfast, actually.
Right, so you did what most people probably do nowadays. They call it backpacking now, wouldn't they? Where they go off.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, except you never went back.
No, I was probably one of the few Canadians that stayed here for quite some time.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And you were in a hot spot at a hot time.
Yeah, we're in Belfast, and as I say, we got there in 1968, so that's about the same time, a little later than that the trouble broke out in 69.
Yeah.
So for a Canadian, it was a very unusual experience, actually.
Yeah.
Something that I couldn't relate to personally. I didn't see the rationale and why people from the same country had these historical squabbles. It made no sense to me. I mean, where I came from on Vancouver Island, we had every nationality that you could name practically, and so you got used to dealing with different nationalities.
No big deal.
And that was normal to us. So to come to the north and see that break out, actually sad in a way.
I often wonder, because Vancouver Island is roughly Ireland size, roughly.
Oh, probably,
yeah.
Probably.
So was it a bit unusual thinking even a little place the size of here could have so much conflict? Because pretty much the same size of an island.
Oh, totally alien. But I mean, it's obviously historical. At that time, there was quite there was burnings going on, and shootings and bombings, and
you're from this little lumber town on the west coast.
Yeah, and indirectly, you in a way you get used to it. It sounds strange, but that was the case, But you also are very nervous a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I can recall leaving there to come down south, and when you got down south, it was like a load was lifted off your shoulders. So you didn't even appreciate the tenseness of the situation while you were living there.
Well, you never do when you're in that moment, do you, I suppose?
No. And,
well, you raised a family there then.
That's right, yeah. And I think I was probably one of the few Canadians that had that experience.
I can't imagine there were too many Canadians in Belfast in 1968 and early 70s.
I actually don't recall meeting another one.
Have you been there since you came back?
I was there, I had a daughter that got married up there, but that was only about 4 years ago, so that's kind of the first time.
And did you notice anything? Did you look out for anything? Was there any difference, or was it the same?
Well, when we traveled to the wedding location, you would go through the different areas that stood out as either loyalist or Republican. Catholic,
they're still there, right?
They're still there, yeah. And I don't know if that'll ever change. I know that when I was there and you could see it unfold, and I think from my point of view, I remember the initial civil rights marches starting, and I think that they were getting a lot of world opinion sympathy at that time.
Yeah.
And as it developed more, and there was more, if you want, clashes with army, etc.
Yeah.
I think world opinion started to change.
Well, what did your friends and relatives think of you being there?
Well, I don't think they understood it.
No.
Frankly,
No.
But when you're married with a family, I mean, you make certain choices, and you sort of stick with them.
Yeah.
At least up, as much as you can.
Because let's face it, they're a bit mad up there. It's an interesting place. There's personalities, a sense of humour. You really have to get it to get it. I mean, it's very in your face, right? Northern Ireland.
It is. One interesting thing about it is that I found as a foreigner, either side would almost give you more consideration than they would for one another.
Well, they've nothing against you.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
You can look at it that way.
Well, nobody's got anything against Canadians. Well, you know.
Well, they didn't at that time,
No.
that I can recall. And the people themselves, I mean, are really great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a certain madness to them, which is
but,
great.
This ingrained attitude to one another is a tragedy.
Yeah. You stayed in Ireland then for quite a while.
Yeah, we were in the north of Ireland for about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And then down in south of Ireland, Dublin, for an additional probably 20.
You see, that's a good chunk of time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I could speak the language.
You can speak English
Forgotten it.
like an Irish person?
Yeah, I did it
What
one
do you,
time.
give us an Irish expression and go on, give us one.
Top of the
Not
morning.
at top of the morning, not at top of the morning. So you're this Canadian man, you've travelled the world, you've been in the UK, you've been in England, you come to Belfast, you stay there for a while, you go back down south to here, to Dublin where we are, and then 20 years whatever later, you go back to Canada?
That's right, yeah.
Was that a culture shock, going back home after 20 years, nearly a quarter of a century out of the country?
I think so. You kind of adjust fairly quickly to what you knew or what
Yeah.
I know. So I didn't find that quite as much. I found it much more to come here. To this
Originally?
side of it. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I recall us initially when we went to England, and I see similarities in England and Ireland.
Yeah.
Like the buildings and
The weather.
The weather, yes. But I know we came into Southampton and we took the train to, I think it was Paddington Station, could have been Victoria. Now, you can imagine we came from a town of 350 people in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere where you couldn't get in by, you had to fly in or go by boat.
You couldn't
There was
drive in?
no road into it.
Okay.
And then we get off in Paddington Station and the people, this is about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were unloading the trains for the Monday morning work in London.
In central London, yeah.
We couldn't believe the people coming off the train.
You were literally
Thousands
off the
and
boat.
thousands. Well, we were off the boat for
Literally
But
just off the boat.
We just sat on our cases, mesmerized
Did you?
by the vast
And did you
number of
think
people.
then, what the hell, what am I going to do?
Well, we were going to go to Europe, so we kind of had our plans. but we
okay,
didn't-
okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took a few days in London and then moved on to Europe.
Yeah. What would be your work life in Canada when you were there?
Well, we worked basically in sawmill. It was what they call a sawmill town, and
That's literally sawing trees,
oh yeah,
chopping trees, sawing them.
yeah,
Okay.
falling in the big trees, the timber.
Yeah.
And
these are big trees,
yeah,
not like Irish trees.
They'd be huge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, at them time. I mean, they've reduced the forest quite a bit over there, but you would have had a foot that was 8 feet across, a tree that was 8 feet across. So you were dealing with a big tree.
Yeah.
But then I ended up, I was what we called longshoring.
Longshoring, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we were
what was that?
loading, on the waterfront,
Okay.
loading ships with the timber, and they were sending it, all over the world at that time. But I think the difference between now and then is that everything was physical, and we would, you'd go down the hold, the ship, and the whistle would blow at 7:30, and then you were unloading timber into the bottom of the ship physically, huge pieces of lumber, and you would do that all day. You'd have a 10-minute break.
So you're lifting
First one.
basically trees.
Well, planks.
Yeah,
Or timber,
okay.
yeah, and they would be 3 feet by 40 feet.
And can everybody do that?
No, you had to be physically fit. And I know that people would come down the hold and maybe last 2 or 3 hours, and they'd have to go back up.
Was anybody never able for that job?
Oh, quite a few.
Yeah.
Oh,
And what do they do then? Do they have to leave
they would
town?
go back. No, they go back to the mill.
Oh, and do the
Like
sawing.
Yeah, the longshoring was very hard, very tough.
So you come back here now to the present day. You're reading the Irish newspaper, sitting in a coffee shop in Ireland. What's changed here from when you first got here? Because we've gone through the Celtic Tiger and out the other side.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came here, I think things were slower. Obviously, I don't think like you didn't have the cars that you have today. I probably when I first came here, it would have been similar to what it was 30 or 40 years before that.
Right, wouldn't have changed much.
It wouldn't change an awful lot. That's the impression I got, and. I don't know. You've had a complete turnaround with the, as you say, the Celtic Tiger.
It's been and gone, yeah.
Come and gone.
Yeah.
So I know that you would never have a pub closed down in those days.
Have you been in a pub since you got here?
Oh, I have.
Yeah, you got in pretty easily, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah. No, they're just not. I mean, I know we were in Dublin at lunchtime there about a week ago, and I was surprised that just aren't the numbers in the bars anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas before, at lunchtime in Dublin, you could hardly get in.
Yeah.
Bottom line. No. So yeah, there's been some fair changes and a lot of adjustments.
Have the people changed, you think?
You've got a more mix, an ethnic.
That's true.
Mix,
that's very true.
Which
that would have been completely different.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was here, I was one of the few I think that came here.
You would have been. You would have been.
Yeah. And people were really leaving Ireland.
Someone's coming into Ireland? What's that all about? I remember there's a story, a Russian guy got off. Aeroflot used to have a base in Shannon.
Yeah.
And a Russian guy got off the plane in Shannon looking for a political asylum. This is in the dark days of the early 80s. Spent 2 days and said, it's okay. And he went back to Moscow. He didn't want to stay. He wanted to go back there. He left originally. He said, no, it's okay, I'll go back. That's what it was like. And that was the classic story of the time. So someone coming here was kind of, what? So when do you go back?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is your last day. Will you be back here again, do you think?
I hope so.
You? Okay. That's good enough, isn't it? It's two homes, really, isn't it?
Well, for sure, yeah. I mean, I relate to the Irish. Hopefully they relate to me.
I haven't understood a word you said. What's going on here? Okay, I gotta go.
Okay,
Good
Brian,
to see you.
Nice to see you
And
again.
you. And you.
Take it easy.
Okay.
Bye.